morning, Bucknutters, and welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, September 21st, 2015. I am Dave Biddle. We'll get to the dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic, later in the show to give you the latest on the Buckeyes' defensive tackle recruiting efforts. But a lot happened over the weekend team-wise, and I want to get into that first. I know a lot of fans are concerned about the Buckeyes offense and are wondering how much Ohio State misses Tom Herman. Taking nothing away from Coach Herman, this is Urban Meyer's offense, and I think he will get everything ironed out soon. Many have wondered if Ed Warner has too much on his plate, being both the offensive coordinator and the O-line coach. But I never heard anyone wonder if Herman had too much on his plate as offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. And again, this is Meyer's offense. He often told Herman what to call or what veto calls Herman would make, such as in the 2013 Big Ten Championship game on 4th and 2, when Herman called a running play for Carlos Hyde, but Meyer vetoed it and called a run for Braxton Miller that was stuffed. So I urge you to be patient here. When the dust settles, the 2015 Buckeyes will be one of the best offenses in the nation. That being said, they do need to figure out what they're going to do at the quarterback position, and it's going to be very interesting to hear what Coach Meyer has to say about that when we get to meet with him today at 11:45 a.m. Is he sticking with Cardale Jones as his starter? Is it now J.T. Barrett's job? Are both quarterbacks going to continue to play? I'm sure Meyer will get asked about 10 different questions today about his quarterbacks, and I'm anxious to hear his responses. Both quarterbacks played poorly against Northern Illinois, which makes the decision even more difficult. It's hard to pick just one when they're both playing bad. But if you use a two-quarterback system, there isn't much time for either of them to get in a rhythm and feel comfortable. It's quite the catch-22 Coach Meyer finds himself in. Cardale Jones didn't do himself any favors in the eyes of the coaching staff when he took to Twitter Saturday night and changed his bio from, quote, third-string quarterback, which was sarcastic and funny, to, quote, second-string quarterback, which was passive-aggressive. After hearing from a lot of fans and likely someone from Ohio State's coaching staff or support staff, Jones again changed his Twitter bio to, quote, it's changed, happy, end quote. And now his Twitter page has no bio at all, just his name. Was Cardale changing his bio to second-string quarterback after the Northern Illinois game a big deal? No. He was frustrated, and it's somewhat understandable. The point is, this will not play well with Urban Meyer, in my opinion. I'm sure Coach Meyer does not want his quarterback going on Twitter every time something bad happens. If Meyer is looking for a tiebreaker between Barrett and Jones, it's stuff like this that could end up costing Jones the job. I already had the feeling that Meyer preferred Barrett anyway, and Jones's latest incident on Twitter, as minor as it was, only hurt Jones's chances of holding on to the starting job, in my opinion. Real quick before I turn this over to Bill Kurelic, I find it really cool that Ohio State and Michigan State are ranked number 1 and number 2 in the polls this week. It's, of course, the first time two Big Ten teams have been atop the polls since Ohio State and Michigan in 2006. Hopefully the Spartans are 10-0 when they come to Ohio Stadium on November 21st. It would be really cool to see another 1 versus 2 game in the Horseshoe, 9 years after we witnessed the last one. Also, if Michigan State remains at number 2 and Ohio State beats them, it's going to be difficult for anyone to complain about Ohio State's schedule. It would also be nice if Virginia Tech has a good season, because that opening night win over them will look better and better for the Buckeyes the further we get away from it. Now for the latest on recruiting, let's bring in the dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic.
Let's talk Ohio State defensive tackle recruiting today. The Buckeyes right now have a verbal commitment from one 2016 defensive tackle, that being Bradenton IMG's Malik Barrow, and then they also have a commitment from one 2017 defensive tackle, that being Cincinnati Winton Woods' Jerron Cage. The Ohio State staff also definitely wants to add one more defensive tackle to the 2016 recruiting class, and if they could get 2 great defensive tackles to add to the class for 2016, that is possible as well. But as far as the 2016 candidates go, there are at least 5 legitimate candidates at this point, led by Antoine Jackson. Now, there was a report on Friday night that Jackson would be announcing his college choice on Tuesday, but that turns out not to be the case. Jackson's coach had indicated to Keith Niebuhr that a commitment announcement would likely happen on Tuesday, but that is not going to be the case. Jackson later said there was some miscommunication between him and his coach, and Jackson's recruitment continues, and I'm not at all surprised that it does continue, as he has told me on more than one occasion that he would like to take some official visits, and he has not made official visits yet to either of his top 2 choices, those being Ohio State and Auburn. Now, it's not certain he will make official visits to one or both of those schools before announcing a decision, but I certainly still think that has happened, as he has said that if at all possible, in a perfect world, so to speak, he would like to make official visits, and those are the two schools that almost certainly his recruitment will come down to, either Ohio State or Auburn. So we will see if, in fact, he does set up official visits before announcing his college choice, but he is not going to announce his decision tomorrow. As far as other 2016 defensive tackle targets, Rashad Lawrence from Louisiana is going to make an official visit to Ohio State. He, though, has not set up a date yet. And then also Dexter Lawrence from North Carolina. His coach tells me he, too, is going to make an official visit to Ohio State. So getting those two on campus certainly would be a big positive for the Ohio State staff. The other defensive tackle that the Buckeyes would love to add, of course, is Rashawn Gary, but I continue to think that's a long shot. Gary still has Ohio State as one of the schools he's looking at, but right now it would be a surprise to me if he did end up at Ohio State. And then the fifth defensive tackle prospect to keep in mind is Chris Daniels from Euless Trinity High School in Texas. I spoke with Chris Daniels last night, and he says that he still plans to make an official visit to Ohio State for one of the Buckeyes games, but has not set up a date yet. He is working with the Ohio State staff on that, and he is the other defensive tackle prospect to keep in mind. But right now, the front runner to be in the Ohio State class would have to be Antoine Jackson, and then the other three certainly that the staff would love to have would be Rashawn Gary, Rashad Lawrence, or Dexter Lawrence.
Thank you, Bill. Hopefully the Buckeyes can land one of those big guys up front to pair with Malik Barrow in their 2016 class. As Bill said, Antoine Jackson is the Buckeyes' best shot among that group, but the bad news is Ohio State is only receiving 19% of the crystal ball picks for Jackson. Auburn leads at 52%, South Carolina is second at 22%, and Alabama checks in at fourth behind Ohio State at 7%. Hopefully Urban Meyer can work his magic and eventually land Antoine Jackson. For more on recruiting, Bill has his What I Am Hearing column posted to the site for subscribers already. It has items on Donnie Corley, Marcus Williamson, and more. So make sure you read Bill's What I Am Hearing column if you haven't already. And again, we're interviewing Urban Meyer today at 11:45 a.m. So look for a story plus video on what Coach Meyer has to say. Then from noon to 12:30, we'll interview Chris Ash and Tony Alford, and we'll have stories, bolts, and videos on what they have to say. We're also getting a handful of players from 1 to 2 p.m. today. So look for coverage on all of that on the site throughout the day. Thanks again to the Dean of Ohio State Football Recruiting, Bill Kurlick, and thanks to you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it and hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.